You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show.
Hey.
Good to be with you guys, as always.
So excited.
I am starting us off this week, and you two know how much I love to talk about horrifying medical conditions.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
What
yes.
a joy.
Yes. I'm going to do that today.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
Great.
I'm actually going to talk about a whole category of medical conditions that can actually range from the relatively minor chronic up to the level of, please let me move somewhere where euthanasia is legal. So,
Oh, my God.
buckle up.
Okay.
Oof.
So I'm going to talk about genetic diseases.
Okay.
And a lot of well-known genetic diseases are recessive. This kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So quick review for our listeners who may have forgotten some of their high school biology. You have 46 chromosomes that carry all of your DNA, and half of them are from your mom and half of them are from your dad. They all have the same genes on them, but the ones from mom and dad can have different variants of the genes.
Sure.
And some genes are recessive and some are dominant. So what that means is the typical example that's used in like high school biology is eye color. There's a little more nuance to this in the real world, like with everything, but we're just going to go with the simple story.
Go with it,
Yeah. Like my niece has gray eyes and her dad has really dark brown eyes and her mom has really, really bright blue eyes.
Yeah. Well, so what we're going to go with is brown is dominant and blue is recessive. So a person can have one brown eye gene from one parent and one blue eye gene from the other parent, but their eyes will be brown because the brown kind of overpowers the blue. In order to have blue eyes, they need two copies of the blue eye gene. This is the way a lot of well-known genetic disorders work. For example, sickle cell disease, cystic fibrosis, Tay-Sachs disease. These are all what are called autosomal recessive. So you need both copies of the gene in order to get the disease.
Right.
These are horrible, deadly diseases that often start showing up in infancy or childhood, and especially before modern medicine, usually led to quite early deaths for the unfortunate people who have them.
Yeah.
But these diseases persist because it's possible to have only one copy of the disease gene and still be healthy. So it gets passed on from generation to generation.
Like me.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
In fact, for some diseases, there's actually an advantage to having one copy of the gene. The most well-known of this is the sickle cell gene, which confers resistance to malaria. So if you have one copy of the gene, you're resistant to malaria. If you have two copies, you're in for a really bad time.
Yeah.
But what about autosomal dominant diseases? That's actually what I want to talk about today.
Huh. I guess I don't think about those.
Yeah, most people don't. They're sort of less well known for the most part. So these are diseases where you get one copy of the gene, you have the disease.
Oh,
That
wow.
sounds terrible.
That sounds real bad.
So you would if you think this through, you'd sort of figure that these diseases would be milder or chronic types of diseases, and something that kills you off quickly is not going to have a chance to be passed down to the next generation, right?
Yeah.
And to some extent, this is true. Some of the most common autosomal dominant disorders, I don't know if you can even call all of these diseases exactly. One is achondroplasia, which is the most common form of dwarfism.
Okay.
Neurofibromatosis type 1, which causes benign tumors to grow on the nerves all over the body, these are conditions that can certainly cause complications and can be debilitating, but it's perfectly possible to have a relatively normal life, get married, have children, while still having these diseases.
Yeah.
There are also autosomal dominant disorders that can be quite deadly. So a lot of people have heard of the BRCA gene, which leads to significantly increased risk of breast and ovarian cancer. It's a common one to test for if there's a history of early onset breast cancer in your family. I myself know at least 2 people who chose to have bilateral mastectomies who didn't have cancer at all, but their moms had died young and they had the BRCA gene. So they're like, let's get rid of them. And obviously breast cancer is horrible. And cancer in general is horrible. But we're kind of familiar with cancer. It's sort of a known horror.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that weird. Yeah.
It's your cells deciding, hey, I'm going to keep replicating over and over and over, even though this thing is wrong.
But I promised you some really nasty, weird diseases at the beginning of the episode, so we're going to get there now.
I'm not going to lie, I had already forgotten you promised that.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about 2 of them.
Okay.
The best known one is Huntington's disease.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's really horrible. It's awful.
Really bad.
So Huntington's disease basically causes nerve cells in the brain to die. And initial symptoms are usually pretty subtle. They could be like mood and personality changes, irritability, like mild physical symptoms like uncoordination or a little twitching. But as the disease progresses, it affects every aspect of physical, cognitive, and psychological function. The patient becomes more and more physically uncoordinated, develops these rapid, jerky, dance-like movements that are called chorea, and another name for the disease is Huntington's chorea. It's spelled C-H-O-R-E-A, chorea. These become worse and worse over time. Executive function deteriorates, so patients lose their ability to like plan, impulse control, flexibility, self-awareness, and then progress into dementia. The mood and personality changes intensify, and patients can become really hostile and violent, and can display things like obsessive and compulsive behavior and hallucinations, delusions, just really, the works.
Yeah.
And as the disease progresses, eventually the patient loses the ability to speak, chew, or swallow, and death often comes from aspiration pneumonia, so like breathing stuff like food into their lungs and then getting pneumonia and dying. But it usually takes 15 to 20 years from when the symptoms first appear until death, which is a really long time.
It's a long time, and it really just,
Yeah. And here's the thing about Huntington's disease. Typical age of symptom onset is between 30 and 50 years old. So by that point, many people have already had children.
Yep, already had kids. There it is.
There it is. And having children with an autosomal dominant disease like Huntington's is literally like a coin flip.
Yep.
You got a 50% chance of a normal and healthy child, and a 50% chance of having a child that seems normal but will eventually die the same horrible death as you did.
Is that something they can then test for in the child?
They can now test for it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and the guilt, too, of knowing, that you pass that on is got to be just one more candle on the cake there,
Yeah. That's rough.
That's a weird metaphor. That didn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
All right. The other one I want to talk about is one that was new to me, and it was actually what kind of led me to do this topic in the first place because I heard about this disease. It's a little bit of a callback to the nightmare episode that I did on prions.
Oh, yay!
Oh, no.
Yes.
I would like to say right off the bat here, I have a happy topic.
Good. So glad.
I wish I could say the same. All right, moving on.
Oh, God. Okay,
prions.
So
this is a genetic heritable prion disease called familial fatal insomnia.
That sounds awful.
That sounds awful.
Yep.
I hate it. No.
Just as bad as you're imagining.
Oh, God.
Oh.
So you get gradually worsening insomnia with all the horrible stuff that comes along with that, like panic attacks, paranoia, hallucinations. That covers the first 2 stages of this disease and typically lasts somewhere around 9 months. Eventually, insomnia becomes total, zero ability to sleep, rapid weight loss. That's the 3rd stage of the disease, about 3 months. And then the last stage, which lasts around 6 months, is dementia with the patient becoming mute and unresponsive and finally dying.
I mean, even just not having sleep would do that. Like,
Yeah.
how much of that is from the not having the sleep and how much is from the disease itself? Can they induce sleep?
Oh, no.
Or no? Like,
I don't know.
That doesn't even work?
I don't think so.
You have to.
Get
I did a whole
knocked
episode
out.
on sleep. Like, sleep is so critical to the functioning of animals. Like, if you don't sleep, your brain don't work.
Mm-hmm.
If we could get by without sleep, evolution would have got rid of it a long time ago because it makes you vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does.
So again, with this disease, average age of onset is 50. So
That's
there you go.
That's why it
terrible.
gets passed on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Death occurs 6 months to 3 years after onset.
Whoa.
symptoms.
I
So
mean,
at least it's faster than Huntington's.
yeah, but oh no, I would hate
Brutal.
to go out that way. Ugh.
Yeah. So there's
Wow.
various reasons that these diseases cling on in the gene pool. Some of them have varying severity. Not Huntington's or fatal familial insomnia, but some of the other ones I was talking about, and other there are many autosomal dominant diseases, many of which are rare.
Mm-hmm.
But people who are less severely affected are more likely to survive and pass on their genes. But as we were kind of talking about, with these really severe ones, it's usually that the age of onset is after childbearing or the main childbearing years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow.
especially before modern understanding of genetics, people didn't know what caused this. It must have seemed
Right.
like some kind of family curse that would hit some people and not
Yeah.
others.
When I just had this thought in my head, I'm like, well, how come we don't see the ones that affect before the age of having children? I'm like, oh, right, because those would be culled from the gene pool
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
very quickly.
Yeah. Genetic testing, as we mentioned, is now available. So, of course, many people who have the resources to do this and know that they have this disease in their family either are choosing not to have children if they get tested themselves, or they use IVF to screen embryos for genetic abnormalities if they can afford to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And finally, not all of these mutations are necessarily ones that are passed on. They can also happen de novo, as the scientists say, just like a spontaneous mutation that can happen. So no one's really safe.
Oh,
Great.
great.
Yay.
Yeah.
What an uplifting note to end on, Victoria.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
welcome.
I heard this relatively recently. For at least Huntington's disease, they've made some really amazing breakthroughs recently when it comes to treating Huntington's disease. Like they successfully treated for the first time just in like 2025. It was pretty astonishing, but yeah.
Oh,
So
wow. I'll have
there's
to look
some
up more
hope.
about that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That people with Huntington's in the family need some hope.
Mm-hmm. So it's happening. I did double check my sources, the BBC, because I was like, I'm pretty sure they did this recently. I should double check that. And yeah, exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, my sources this week got some information from Wikipedia. There was a website from Creative Biolabs that had a good overview of autosomal dominant disorders. And then a paper from the Journal of Genetics and Genetic Engineering from 2019 called Most Common Autosomal Dominant Disorders in Clinical Practice, a review that was helpful. We are going to take a short break. And when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Yay.
Cool. Hey everyone, welcome back. So this week, I want to tell you a story about an interesting place, an interesting plant, and a little bit of sad history. Oh. Now, the interesting place is the Banda Islands. They're a small group of volcanic islands in the Banda Sea. Where else, right? But where is that? If you're not familiar with it. These islands are basically due north from the middle of Australia, if that helps you out. This puts them squarely in Indonesia.
Okay.
And it's hard to say, for certain exactly how long humans have been on these islands. Archaeologists have dated a small rock structure on one of the islands to about 8,000 years ago. So we know humans have been there for at least that long, if not longer. Those first to arrive likely quickly discovered an interesting fruit that was found nowhere else. Okay. And this fruit grows on the Myristica tree. And what the native Bandanese figured out long ago was that this fruit was edible. It has a white flesh surrounding a large pit in the middle, and it is used in many different ways. You can eat it fresh. You can make jam. It's used in smoothies. It can be thinly sliced and candied, which is apparently very popular. Okay. And it's said to have this is kind of weird, but like a fresh green flavor.
Okay.
Whatever that means. Okay. But it's white. It's got a bit of like a tangy taste to it. It can also be cooked down though into like a brown syrup, and then you can make iced drinks out of it, which is apparently very popular as well. So lots of fun stuff you can do with this fruit, but I want to talk about that pit. A lot of people, if you're going to eat some fruit and come to a big pit, you would just throw it away, right?
Right.
But not the Bandanese. They figured out they could do something with it. Now, first off, I should mention there's actually two parts to the pit. There's the actual hard seed thing in the middle, and then it's also covered by something called an aurel, which is something you find on the outsides of some of these seed coverings. It's just sort of a red web-like seed covering that covers this inner part. And what the Bandanese figured out long ago is that you could separate and dry these two parts, and each of them have different uses, or kind of the same use, actually. I will say the drying can take some time. Actually, the aurel can be removed and dried in about 2 weeks out in the sun. It doesn't take that long. This seed, though, takes longer. It can take up to 30 weeks to dry out the center of the fruit. And during that time, it shrinks. I mean, it's a good chunk of a year there. During that time, it shrinks and the interior dries up. And I should point out that I've been referring to the center as a seed, but that's not quite right. It's actually like a shell with multiple seeds inside. Okay. And once it is dried, you can actually hear the little seeds. I'm shaking my hand. You can't see this. You can shake it. You can shake it like a rattle. Medium. Yeah. You can shake it, and you can hear the little seeds rattling around in there. That's how you know that it has dried. And you crack it open, and you pluck out these little seeds. They're about 1 inch long and kind of egg-shaped when they are pulled out. Okay. And it's like, okay, cool. Why go to the trouble? Well, the reason the Bandanese went to all this trouble was that we now call the dried aurel of this fruit the spice mace. And the hard seeds inside are...
nutmeg.
Anyone know? Nutmeg.
There
yeah, nutmeg and mace come from the same plant.
Okay.
And these are both incredibly important spices in the world.
Oh, huge.
A little bit of nomenclature clarification here as well. When I say mace, I'm referring to the spice mace. Mace, not mace spray, which people have sometimes heard about.
Good clarification.
They have absolutely no relation. In case you were curious, mace spray you use to defend yourself from attackers. It's literally just a commercial name for tear gas. But again, not related. I did look it up though. Mace spray is named after the medieval weapon of the same name. Like you would beat your enemies away with a mace. Is kind of the idea.
Okay.
But the delicious, subtle, spice mace is not what you're spraying at attackers. Mace actually tastes kind of similar to nutmeg, but it's a little bit more delicate flavor. So the Bandanese figured out they had something special, and they began to trade it with their neighbors. And for a long time, this seemed like a pretty great thing. Like imagine coming to a beautiful tropical island with fresh fruit that you can eat. And then it turns out that the seeds are also like super delicious, and you can trade them for pretty much anything you desire. And so it's like literally money growing on trees.
Fun.
Which is pretty spectacular if you live in this beautiful tropical place.
Yeah.
And for generations, this worked out in their favor, and they were able to trade for all kinds of things that they wanted. And the islands became sort of like a trading port. When people came to get nutmeg, they could also pick up other exotic goods from other people that had traded those exotic things to the Bandanese to get the nutmeg. So people also got a lot of cloves, for example, from these islands, even though they weren't grown there, but they had a lot of them because they were trading for them. And by the 6th century, nutmeg was reaching India, so it had gotten that far, and they went crazy for it. And then by the 13th century, Arab traders, they probably had access to nutmeg coming over, the spice routes for a while. But by the 13th century, Arab traders figured out the location of the Banda Islands. But one of the interesting things is that they kept it a closely guarded secret, so that everyone had to get nutmeg through them. Like, where do you get the stuff? And they're like, we're not telling. Somewhere. So it was a closely guarded secret. And this all seemed like a really good deal for the Bandanese. But of course, human greed has a way of ruining everything. The Portuguese found the Banda Islands, with kind of some of the first Europeans to find that area, and successfully traded for a while. The British showed up and actually struck a deal to like protect the islands as sort of like a bit of a protectorate. And it seemed, from what I could read, like a pretty good deal for everybody involved. But eventually the British ended up leaving, and the Dutch showed up. And the Dutch showed up in the form of the Dutch East India Company. This was in 1621. And the Dutch decided that genocide was the most practical method to get what they wanted, which is really depressing. Wanted to control the spice trade around the world. The Dutch didn't cooperate with the Bandanese, as previous traders all had. They instead chose to slaughter them with the help of Japanese mercenaries. And it was estimated at the time that there were about 15,000 Bandanese. But after the Dutch arrived, they essentially murdered everyone they could find. You do see different numbers thrown out there, but for sure we know that 2,800 Bandanese were murdered. Many often through decapitation, which is pretty horrific. 1,700 people were forced into slavery. We do know that others fled into hiding on other islands, and many just simply starved. By some estimates, at one point, only 1,000 Bandanese remained alive of that original population. So it's a really sad and dark story about how this beautiful tropical place that was blessed with a tree that grows nowhere else in the world ended up becoming a horrible curse when greed took control of the land, and humans' appetite for spice led to this terrible tragedy for the people who discovered it in the first place. And sadly, the story has parallels to other places and other plants on Earth as well. This is not an isolated story. But I think it's sometimes strange to think about like what a grip plants have on us. We've talked about this on the show before about how plants trick us into spreading their seeds. But in this instance, the plants literally tricked humans into genocide and war all over a spice that gives us eggnog and our pumpkin spice latte, that distinctive flavor. Like, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing we'd have genocide over, is nutmeg and pumpkin spice lattes, but literally that's what happened. So it's this wild testament to the power that plants can have over people. And there are many stories like this of things going wrong when people discover a good plant. So not a happy one this week.
No.
Turns out that plants can cause humans to do some pretty dark things. And I will say that that's kind of all I have for you, just this sad story of this incredible plant. And my primary source this week was for all the numbers and dates and whatnot was various pages on about nutmeg and the spice trade and the Banda Islands on good old Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kirk.
Yeah, I when I wanted to do a story about nutmeg, and I'm like, oh, nutmeg's actually pretty kind of fascinating plant, but you can't really talk about it without talking about the horrible side to it as well.
Yeah.
There, by the way, still are people who are Bandanese on Earth. they have survived. Nutmeg is now grown in other places as well, though, because people have successfully taken the plants and propagated them in other places like Guatemala and some other places where the nutmeg you got these days may not actually come from the original location.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Kirk. I guess.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's get to a short break here. And Rachel, you got a really happy story for us, right, to end the show?
I have a fun thing. Yes.
Good.
Happy. Fun. Yes.
Okay, let's find out.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. So I do have what I think is a really fun topic. It's not
cool.
Really sad. So
it's not disease or genocide.
No,
that's great.
Not at all. So we've covered a huge variety on this show, as we have already shown with this particular episode. And I like to think that we have a handle on most animals. This is episode 284. So we're gonna play a little game, a little test for the two of you in particular. So first thing is I'm going to give you a scientific name, and I'm going to see if either of you can figure out which group of animals this critter that I'm covering this week is from.
Okay. What size of group are we talking about? Like,
I'm going to give you Animalia.
So Animalia. So it's within the animal
Here's our chance
kingdom.
to use our little rhyming memorization here.
I do have
Kingdom,
hints and things.
Phylum, order.
To give you
phylum,
more
class,
hints.
order, family, genus,
I will do kingdom. It is an animal. Okay.
Okay. But what do you want us to say? Do you want us to say like this is from a vertebrate? This is from an insect, or do you want
I think she wants us to be as accurate as we can be.
Get as accurate as you can. I have faith in both of you, actually, because I don't think this is as hard as it could be. So
interesting.
There are
just don't make us pronounce them.
No. So the critter that I'm talking about, there are technically two of these that do the feature that I'm mostly focusing on, but we're going to focus on one in particular. The scientific name for you to guess is Myotis vivisi.
It's a bat.
Yeah, Myotis is bat.
You're right. Yeah, it's a bat.
I'm like, as soon as I said it, I'm like, that's familiar.
See,
and then,
I told you both that it was going to be a lot easier than you thought. You went from Kingdom Animalia.
You had me. I was sweating over here.
I'm like, I saw that it was Myotis, and I was like, they're gonna get it right away. But I'm gonna have them guess, see if it goes. Yeah, it's a bat. We're talking about a bat today. The hint.
Oh, I thought you'd have like a whole series of animals for us. I was all ready for a whole.
No.
I thought that was your entire really topic. Was just a quiz.
That would be really fun.
Next time.
I'm gonna write that down. Maybe do that later.
Sort of a la Brett, a little bit.
Little bit. That's why I was like, I'm only gonna do one. So you figured it out. It is a bat. It is a Myotis, which is a particular type of brown bat. And this creature that I am talking about, the hints that I had for you were it's a mammal. So bats are mammals. We've talked about that before. We've talked about lots of different bats on this particular episode. Or we've talked about bats before on the podcast. We've talked about vampire bats. We've talked about pollinating bats. We talked about something that isn't a bat, a flying fox. And I'm sure bats will come up again on the show. Now, particular one that I'm talking about today, this species, Myotis vivisi, is a species of bat that is very aptly called a fish-eating Myotis or a fish-eating bat.
Whoa. Okay. Interested.
So there are actually two that do this. The original one that I actually was originally going to cover is called the greater bulldog bat, and it's a slightly larger and also eats fish. But then I discovered this bat, and it's a little cooler, so I decided to go for this bat.
Nice.
So, first things first, this bat eats fish, primarily. That's what it eats. Okay? So,
nice.
Wild concept.
I kind of figured that from the name, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
That's this week's show, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
There it is.
Oh, wait, there's more. There's more,
yes.
Yeah?
So the fish-eating myotis lives on the islands and the coasts of the Sea of Cortez, down in on the California side by Mexico and the Baja Peninsula, right along the Pacific coast, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, bats that eat fish, you don't think of bats eating fish. You think of them eating insects and, like, other small critters and things like that.
Birds, as we discussed
Birds,
in an episode.
exactly.
Right.
Now, these two species, technically, because the greater bulldog also has some of these characteristics, they actually go out and catch the fish.
How,
okay.
though? Like, think about bats using sonar to catch flying insects, but, you know, fish aren't flying through the air generally.
We'll get into it. So these brown bats, they have a whitish chest, and they really don't look like much, but they do have some pretty big wings, because you're going to catch fish. You have to be able to carry said fish. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of what they look like, they have some longer ears and a narrow snout, and that really helps identify them. They have rounded wing tips as well. They are the largest myotis species in the Americas, with a body length of about 10 centimeters or 3.9 inches, and that's as big as they can get. Okay. Their wingspan is 25 to 30 centimeters, or 9.8 to 11.8 inches. Okay.
I expected a fish-eating bat to be bigger.
That's
I was thinking something a little bigger, yeah.
Yeah. I will say the greater bulldog bat is a little bit bigger, but not much bigger than the fish-eating myotis. But just wait. So here's the thing, is in order to catch the fish, you have to be able to catch the fish. So if you are eating fish...
well said, yeah.
Thank you. If you're going to eat fish and you're a flying creature, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
They've got
Can I guess?
some... Yeah, you can guess, Kirk.
This is just... Do they scoop them up with their tail?
That would be wild. No.
With their tail?
I know they can do that with insects.
No.
Well, they've got like a little... Bats will actually, when they're flying, will use their tail, because they have like that
Little
membrane that extends from like the tip of their tail to their body. They can actually use that to kind of scoop insects up in the air into their mouth. So that maybe they're doing that for fish. But no, I'm wrong.
No. Instead, they have huge back feet that can be 15% of their body size. Their feet are 23 millimeters, or almost an inch long.
Okay. For the size of the bat, I guess that's pretty big.
That is pretty big for the size of the bat, okay? When researching, fun fact, when I was doing some research, often they were described as Sasquatch feet, which is pretty great. For context, this is the example I was given.
Seems a little bit...
I mean, yeah, it's like someone being 5'10", having size 14 feet. So, like, those are... Because here's the thing, is those feet are large, but they're mostly really thin, long toes with really long claws as well.
Okay.
So what they do is they fly low, and they fly pretty slow over the open ocean, using echolocation to detect the fish. And then as they are dragging, they kind of like skim the top of the water. And once they detect the fish, they reach out, they grasp it with their back fish, and then they transfer that fish to their mouth, where they either
Do you
eat
mean
it
their
while
back
they are
feet?
flying. Yeah, with their back feet.
Okay.
Their front feet are their wings.
Right.
Yeah.
So they will then eat it while they're flying, which to me seems dangerous, or they'll find a perch and eat there. Okay.
So this must be a species of fish that hangs out incredibly close to the surface of the water.
I mean, they're not diving down deep, but they are in like, it's more of a coast cove lagoon kind of space. So like fish do come up kind of closer to the tops of the water and stuff too.
I have a hard time understanding how their echolocation is working on fish under the water and not just bouncing off the surface of the water.
That is very fair, and I will tell you that I tried to find out a little bit more, and they are not especially well researched, and I think that we can do more with that. Nothing that I was finding really was
there's
saying
something
anything.
With like the fish because these fish are very close to the surface of the water, they may even be like breaking the surface of the water, and the bats are detecting the disturbance at the surface.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. So like it's usually by like the ripples that the fish make.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Nature sure is neat.
Nature is neat. But wait, there's more. The fish wasn't weird enough. They'll also eat crustaceans.
Oh.
Which is
right.
fun.
Okay.
So they'll eat crustaceans. They mostly eat fish. But they will also eat crustaceans. They'll eat algae, and they'll actually eat some flying insects. Rarely, but they will. On a side note,
algae,
which this is the most naturalist thing I could do. Depending on what they eat, it will change the color of their poop.
Of course.
Well, me too.
Yeah. So if they're eating crustaceans, their guano will be red. If they are eating fish, their guano will be black. If they're eating algae, it'll be green. And if it's insects, it'll be brown.
Okay.
Wild.
Hey.
That's handy for field research.
Now, again, not large bats. Like, they're pretty big, but they're not huge, okay? They can catch and eat up to 30 fish in a night.
They must be pretty small fish.
I would hope so, honestly.
That's still pretty impressive.
Yeah. They also have the ability, because they are on the coast, they have the ability to drink seawater. They're able to concentrate their urine so they can drink seawater.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we've talked about a few animals that can do a few things like that. It's pretty fascinating.
It doesn't happen very often, but these bats can do that. They will also often roost within caves and crevices and such, but if there happens to be a sea turtle shell on the beach that has been pecked over and is just the shell, they will also roost under sea turtle shells, which I think is adorable.
Really?
Okay.
They also have a really fascinating relationship with the petrels that are in the area. There is a species of lizard, the western whiptail, that actually goes after and tries to eat the eggs of the petrels. But the bats actually are shown to be more aggressive, so they've been able to help protect petrel nests. So they often will kind of roost together, the birds and the bats, to protect the eggs of the petrels from being eaten by the whiptail lizards, which is pretty cool. Overall, this was just a fun little topic, and it was definitely worth the rabbit hole of learning about a fish-eating bat. Probably will visit again at some point, being like, there's a ton that we can talk about, but that's what I got for you both this week. My sources this week were Wikipedia, the Bat Conservation International, and Animal Diversity Web, and the website Know Your Mammals.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, so a nice little happy, fun little topic after sadness and depression.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we needed that, Rachel. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You got to end it on poop, right? So thanks everyone for listening.
But sure.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.